Anything Biology. Please, we're going to be taking a series on WAEC Biology for different subjects. Today we are on WAEC exams for different subjects. Today we are starting with biology. Now the number one question says the scientist who introduced binomial nomenclature in the classification of organisms was A. Charles Darwin, B. Carolus Linnaeus, C. John Ray, D. Louis Pasteur. Now you're also going to find out that I'll be picking out the right answers and marked in red. Now the person that introduced the binomial nomenclature in the classification of organisms is Carolus Linnaeus. The present method of classification and naming living organisms is based on the work of Carolus Linnaeus from 1707 to 1778. And this very Carolus Linnaeus is actually a Swedish naturalist. So you can find this answer in the classification of organisms or organization of life. Now let's move to the second question. Which of the following statements is true about arthropods? A. Proteus bears only legs. B. Mesothorax bears only legs. C. Metathorax bears only wings. D. Proteus bears only wings. Now the answer is actually that Proteus bears only legs. Proteus bears only legs. The right answer is option A. That is the right answer. Anyone that is now having the right answer will also make the appropriate correction. So A is the answer. Now let's move. Now the proteus is the foremost of the three segments in the thorax of an organism. This proteus is the foremost of the three segments in the thorax of an insect that bears the first part of the legs. The proteus never bears wings in arthropods. Now when we're talking about arthropods, your mind should always go to insects. Though some fossil groups possess wing-like projections. Now let's look at number 3 question. What level of organization is Spirogyra? Spirogyra is actually in the level of tissue, not cell. You know the level of organizations. We have cell, after cell we have tissue, after tissue, organ, then after organ we have system. So depending on how developed the organism is, but Spirogyra falls on that issue. Now, Spirogyra belongs to the phylum known as Talophyta of the kingdom Plantae. Talophytes are simple green plants that are all aquatic. Spirogyra is a simple green algae found in ponds and ditches. Each filament is made up of a single chain of identical cells. Since this is all that the Spirogyra is made up of, the tissue is defined as a collection of cells that are similar in structure and perform similar functions. The Spirogyra is a tissue. You can find this under classification and organization of life. Now let's move down to the number 4 question. The streaming movement of cytoplasm within paramecium is known as, it's actually known as cyclosis. That is the name of the streaming movement of cytoplasm in paramecium. Now what is this cyclosis? Cyclosis is where there is flow inside the cytoplasm. It is typically observed in large plants and animal cells. Here, flow means that the cytoplasm is moving inside the cell. It is not stationary. So cyclosis is actually the streaming movement of cytoplasm within the paramecium. Now let's look at number 5 question. Which of the following cell organelles is found only in plant cells? Which of the following cell organelles is found only in plant cells? The answer is plastids. The answer is plastids. Why is it plastids? Because the plastids is a membrane-bound organelle found in the cells of plants, algae, and some other eukaryotic organs. They are generally concerned with photosynthesis. So whenever you hear plastic, it has to do with photosynthesis. And you know that it's only plants that undergo photosynthesis, not animals. Now let's look at number 6 question. Active transport differs from diffusion in that active transport allows the movement of substances against concentration gradient. That's what active transport does. It actually allows the movement. Diffusion cannot move against concentration gradient, but active transport can actually move against concentration gradient. It is not that it is very fast process. No, it is not that it takes both. It takes place in both light and dark reactions of photosynthesis. Neither is it that it occurs in both plants and animals. The right answer is that it allows the movement of substances against concentration gradients. Now let's look at number 7. The diagram above are illustrations of the experimental setup to demonstrate a type of tropic response in plants. This is tropic response in plants. Study them and answer questions 7 and 8. The type of response demonstrated is it A, phototropism, B, geotropism, C, hydrotropism, or D, thigmotropism? The answer is hydrotropism, because when you look at this setup, you see water. Any movement that has to do with a relationship to water, you know it's hydrotropism. Now, tropism is when a part of a plant moves in response to a directional stimulus. Hydrotropism, as shown in the diagram, is when roots of plants bend towards moisture, while stems and leaves show no response. You can see that these roots are bending towards moisture, whereas the other place, the leaves are just the way they are here. So this is hydrotropism. Now, number 8, the conclusion drawn from the experiment is that A, shoots of plants are negatively thigmotropic. B, shoots of plants are negatively geotropic. D, leaves of plants are positively phototropic. D, roots of plants are positively hydrotropic. Now, having in mind that the type of motion that is happening is hydrotropism, then the answer has to do with hydrotropic. So the right option here is that the roots of plants are positively hydrotropic because they are tending towards where the moisture is. Now, number 9, the odontoid process is found on the dash. A, axis vertebra, B, atlas vertebra, C, thoracic vertebra, D, sacral vertebra. Now the answer is axis vertebra, because the axis vertebra is the second vertebra of the vertebral column. The axis vertebra has a large centrum which projects forward as the odontoid process. So that makes option A the right answer. Now, number 10, a seedling was made to stand in a solution of red ink for 3 hours, and a transverse section of the stem was examined under microscope. The process being investigated was A, the importance of micro elements in plants, B, ascent of water through the xylem, D, diffusion of color substances, D, distribution of food in elements. So the right answer is B, ascent of water through the xylem. That's actually what you use that to study, and not diffusion of colored elements. So I'm gonna color B because that's supposed to be the answer, and not C. So once I see such, I'm always going to point it out. Yeah, so Please, if you like this channel, please hit the subscribe button. If you have any questions and concerns, drop it on the comment section. In subsequent lectures, I'm going to be taking 11 and down to the rest of them. Thank you, and God bless you. Hello, welcome. Let's look at this WIAC question for physics 2008.